Hello, this movie is going to take you through, amazingly enough, all 12 DVD movies to give you a bit of a picture on the whole build of the Red Earth Railway. So, let's go. So the first video is all about the concept. It's all about in this case, the era. It's all about thinking that through so that you know what you want to do. I'll tell you what I've done in relation to the Red Earth Railway. We've looked at how to design track, looked at software, looked at gradients, for example, then DCC, trains, where to source them, all the mistakes I made, even stuff about couplers and flexi-track. And there's a filing cabinet on the web page as well that's got all of the details about where I sourced all this from. The next movie is about building the bench work. I use a very simple method. It's fairly inexpensive. All the time I think about inexpensive ways of doing things, never get stuff off the shelf. Drawing techniques, how to draw your track onto your material. I use lots and lots of jigs that I make up as I go along here. Jigs for all sorts of things, because you don't need to buy things, you can just do it yourself. For example, I use rubber underlay under the track, and I glue everything down with cork. So the kind of things that I'll show you about here are also gluing techniques and the kind of materials that I use. The third movie I go into detail about laying track, and honestly, as I worked through building the railways, I gradually devised a method which worked really well for me, so I describe it to you. I also built jigs to help me once again, and I think you'll find that the track laying techniques are really terrific. The next couple of movies is a bit unusual. I designed the track, laid it down, and used these switches which are purchased with the track, and realised that they look so ugly, so unconvincing, that I ripped them all off. And I designed instead a mechanical switching method for my particular tracks. Now this is probably more about scratch building, way to do things, and so on. It's probably of interest for you. You may choose to do this or not, but it's just one of those things where you think, let's do it. So then the next series we get into wiring. Show you some diagrams. I've got a small example railway that I wire. This is about one system and one DCC unit. It's not extremely complex, but I show you here how to do droppers, how to source cheap wire even, soldering techniques. Then I show you something very important, how to remove a piece of track that's been soldered in, take it out and replace it. That's really interesting. I also have a couple of reversing loops on the Red Earth Railway, and I also let you into some of the secrets of my mysterious reversing light. And finally, after wiring comes the playing, where you just need to get your trains going, get everything running, because that's the only way you find if you've got glitches, and you want to fix those before you move to the next part, which is all about the artistic development of scenery. Right, the next series changes the theme completely. We've been doing technical stuff, we've been doing building, wiring, switches, getting everything lined up, etc. But this one now is where we switch into the artistic field, and what I show you to begin with is how to make some styrene cutters. Very simple stuff to do, but very effective. So we make some styrene cutters, I get some foam, and we just have a ball. Make tunnel entrances and all sorts of things, and everything leading up to the point of painting. So the next step, we get the paints out, and we get the basic materials out, which in my case is the red earth from the hills around Cairns, coffee grounds, tea, you name it, and we start by painting the track, because brown track ain't realistic. We make roads, and roads have to go somewhere, by the way, talk about that. We make stations that are removable because you need to be able to clean the track. We apply the red earth, and this is really fun, this stuff. The next series, which is the 8th series, is all about ballasting the track. I used material that I found myself, and I'll show you how to clean it, how to do it. I've got homemade applicators, cleaning the track up after you ballast it, and all of that sort of stuff. So it's enormous fun. I just have a ball at this part. Next series of movies, we make grass and trees, and I've got to say I have enormous fun making
Australian gum trees here. Source some very interesting materials to make them. The grass, of course, has to look like outback Australia. Clearly, when we get to this area, it's becoming very specific to the model that I'm making. I refer in this to different websites and other places that you can go, because there's so many terrific resources on the web about helping you build the kind of things that you want to build. But what I show you here is just how I do it. And once again, lots and lots of jigs. Okay, the 10th series is about building your own houses. I'm very happy with this little piece. I make the miners' huts from scratch. I make these beautiful Queenslanders from scratch, and I really had to work everything out as I went, because N gauge is really, really small. So I designed them, built them, had a plastic card, covered them, and I discovered in the middle of all of this how to make aluminium roofs, which just brilliant. I think the roofs on these houses make them, but I also discovered that the most important part about building a roof is not the roof, it's the gutter. You've got to get the gutter straight and clean, and it sets everything off. Then finally we paint them. So now we continue in this 11th series with building more things like windmills and water tanks and telegraph poles. I like poles to be strong enough to carry wires. And we build a bridge. I don't show you a lot of detail in this, but in the next series, which you'll also see on the website, I have a detailed description of the build of a bridge, because the bridges I build, I like to be able to lift off the track to clean the track. Just a good point. The final series, the 12th one, is the end of these 30 movies in total, and I spend time on these looking at maintaining your train set. So it's about cleaning the track, it's about cleaning the wheels of your locos, and I build a jig to clean them, which is very, very inexpensive and very simple. I pull apart a train that's got some problems, an engine, and we pull it all apart, we clean the parts, put it all back together again. I show you how to build a little test track so you can test each wheel on your trains. And finally, I made a wheel setting jig to set the width of the wheels, which really is probably the source of 90% of derailments. And so all of this then comes to an end. 30 movies, a terrific overview on how to build an N-gauge model railway that you can translate to any kind of railway, I would suggest.